Howdy. This video and the videos preceding it up to this point have been a blend of humor and sincerity. None of these videos have thus far been intended as anything personal. The greater subject, however, of censorship is something I do take very seriously, and I hope you do too. That said, you'll see momentarily a recording of me contacting Gary, not unsolicited. Now, you'll see as you watch that a couple of pop-ups where in exchange via the comments of one of his posts, he says he would be interested, and I reply by telling him that I will follow up with him if things work out, and they have. The script that I created works, and it shows so far with perfect accuracy the amount of comments on any channel that have been shadow banned. Now let me briefly explain that. These comments, often a viewer will leave a comment and that comment will remain visible to the viewer while remaining invisible to everyone else. That is what we basically call a shadow banned comment. Gary's rate of hidden comments was 59%. Jesse on Fires was 57%. Now these are for specific videos, so that percentage may vary from one video to the next. That's quite high. And the code that I execute shows every single one of those comments from every single user that no one else can see. So the content can be analyzed, but also the script organizes and sorts that out. Any username can be searched for, and all of those comments will come up. It produces an overall percentage ratio of suppressed comments, and that is effectively what's being done. I'm explaining that because I've had many people leave really hostile comments, and they don't seem to understand exactly what it is I've done. Now, it's easy to say stupid people, and I'm sure some of them are, but many people react before they think. The point of this is simple clarification so that I don't have to go replying to a bunch of silly comments. If you are going to criticize this, have substance in your comment and address the facts, because that's all that I'm doing here. I'm addressing facts. Things that can be verified. This is repeatable. I want to repeat that word. This is repeatable work that can be repeated. That's one of the fundamental principles in what some people call science. I'm not crazy about that word. I'm not a scientismist, but this approach has been somewhat scientific. Now, again, that said, I'll show you that video and then we will resume. All right, so here I'm going to call Paramount Tactical just for the record so you can see whether Gary responds to me or not. And I will put this on speakerphone. You can see here.
You've reached Paramount Tactical Solutions. Our store hours are Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you get this message during store hours, we are on another call or with a customer. Please call back again or send an email to services@paramountTactical.com.
Hi, I'm sorry to be a pest. This is Theodore Busman. Once again, I'm calling, this is recorded. I'm recording myself for documentation just to show that Gary either did or did not get back with me. Not for anything weird or anything, just it's documentation because I produced a video and I want people to know where I'm coming from as well. And Gary did express interest in this through I had earlier left a sloppy message and referred to it as a text. It was actually a comment, which ironically has also disappeared. So my comments are being censored. I've fairly well proven that with adequate code and scripting, and that's what it's all about. It's nothing personal with Gary. I'm doing this to every channel that I have the energy to do it with as I go along, and that's basically it. Again, you can contact me at 94, and the username or channel name for the YouTube channel is Have a Hand with no E. It's HAVAHAND, and you can see it's the latest video as of now. All right, that's it. And yes, I did blurb out my number because I don't want to get silly phone calls or angry people, and this kind of stuff, it pisses people off. Now that you've seen that, hopefully you have more context, and if you're going to criticize or have a fit, perhaps then you can have a fit about something that actually did happen. This is a subject I take very seriously, and to repeat myself, it's not, to this point, personal. I think it's in good humor. I tend to respect Gary. I tend to. Jesse on fire, I'm not quite sure. I'm still trying to size him up. But neither one has responded. Now here I will post an image of an email that I sent to Jesse and received no reply from. I've not received a reply yet from Gary. So that's not really a big deal. He doesn't have to reply. He stated that he was interested. People change their minds. That's fine. Now, I do want to say that in future episodes, I might get more serious. Heavy duty, Paramount Tactical, a lot of these YouTube channel personalities, they are what they are. Where I see something far more serious is with Sean Ryan. That is a very powerful platform with well over 5 million subscribers. And it is also a platform that is visited by many very, very powerful, influential people. From Donald Trump to Pete Hegseth to Tim Burchett to people from Palantir, from all over the place. And because of that, there is an enormous responsibility on the shoulders of Mr. Ryan that I think is making him stagger a bit. And I question his integrity. I've spotted what I have identified as flagrant, unambiguous propaganda, and I will be addressing that if I get to it, if I'm able. That I will take a different approach on. But this is pretty much just context for the Paramount Tactical video, which I may have to remove and redo with this integrated, I'm not sure. But if you are interested in that, then please click the link in the description and you can see what this is in reference to. And I hope I've clarified everything that needs to be clarified. This is about the distortion of public dialogue and what some call grifters that are making money on the backs of working people who trust them and rely on them as a source of information. And I have never suggested that a channel operator does not have the right to tailor their threads, their comment section in any way they want to. But if they do so while claiming that they are after the truth, if someone claims that they are researching and seeking the truth on the Charlie Kirk situation, and then they censor comments that disagree or point out other information, and if they do so politely and those comments are censored, then I will bring that to the attention of others. I will make a fuss. I know people have to tailor their channels to some extent. That's obvious. You don't want a cooking channel with political comments taking over. So I understand that. But some of the people that I've dealt with so far portray that they are seeking truth and dealing with serious subjects. If they're going to do that, I have a First Amendment right, but I also have something that I perceive as my own duty to address that. And when you have a public dialogue that is highly distorted and not truly representative of reality, that's a problem. And if you don't see why that's a problem, you haven't thought about it enough yet. So I urge you to consider the myriad ways in which that can negatively affect everyone. YouTube is the world's foremost media platform. Many people go there for their information. And it is simply not something I'm willing to tolerate, to have a distorted perception of public dialogue on the world's foremost media platform. We need an honest representation of what is happening in reality so that our arguments are not in vain and not wasted, that what we are discussing and arguing actually has an effect and gets to the people that are intended. And this is not happening. And many people see their comment, but it's not there. Only they see it. Again, that's shadow banning. So I am here to shake up that whole scheme. I don't agree with it, and I'm trying to change it. And I don't know of anyone else who has yet created a script specifically for that purpose. It's very primitive, but it works. It shows you data that, if checked and kept up to date, is a highly accurate means to see behind these veils of distortion. Now, in the future, I intend to step this up quite a bit with statistical analysis of the content. And that is what I think Gary may have been interested in. I intend to step this up and analyze all of the hidden content to see what the trigger tones are, the trigger words, look at it for patterns across many different platforms. That is a colossal undertaking for me. That is a lot of work. And if I did that now as is, with my channel at only 186 subscribers, with trolls coming in to behead me simply because I've done something objective, that would be a waste of time. So I'm waiting. I don't want to waste my efforts and have one person appreciate the work. But that will be involved, somewhat complex, yet extremely revealing analysis on the YouTube side of the censorship. And I want to remind you with my final words that that is the foremost of my concerns here. Channel operators do have the right to do whatever they want. One can argue that they have responsibility. I believe they do. But they do have the right. YouTube is black boxed. You don't know what their algorithms are, or why, or their reasons. What are the triggers? Why? Why do they delete one thing and not another? And I have quite a bit of disturbing examples that I've been accumulating. One example was with a comment of someone expressing very profound schizophrenic disturbances with the possibility for self-harm. Other comments, simply mining him for more useless information, were left standing. Mine that offered passive help, but also advised this individual to do his best to seek help from a source that he trusted. That was censored. And I know that was censored by YouTube. And that's just one of many examples. There's a lot of disturbing stuff that happens that some people see that you may not. Many people watch YouTube for entertainment. That's not what I do, at least not all the time. So your perspective may vary from mine. You may think YouTube is nothing but entertainment and you don't care, and therefore I shouldn't care. I care. That's the end of the story. So, thanks for watching. Alright, today it's Paramount Tactical. I was supposed to do this a while ago. I had an exchange of communication text with, I believe it's Gary at Paramount Tactical, and I had originally criticized him for censoring comments, and his reply was, "No, that's not true, I don't do that." And I thought, well, that sounds pretty honest, so I'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt and assume it's that black box YouTube shit, which it very well could be. But what we're going to do is we're downloading the main JSON, assuming that I don't have to update the script, because YouTube, they change things a lot, partially for this very reason. But if everything works, once this is complete, I'll run the bigger scan, and we'll find what the censorship ratio is, the ratio of invisible comments to visible comments, and we will also find out if my comment is there, because I did leave a comment which was kind of stupid, but let's go ahead and take a look at it. What the fuck is going on here? Okay, get out of my way, you big stupid bastard. Alright, so right here you can see my comment. And for you skeptics out there, let's go ahead and refresh. Okay, so it's here. Now, it's mildly, I find a lot of stupid things to be obnoxious. I don't find them evil or offensive, certainly not worth censorship, but, man, I just can't get these damn cheap glasses clean. This is definitely not worth censoring. What I say here is you ought to address Hunter Kozak. Maybe possible connections to Zinn, etc. He's pretty creepy. Also, perhaps look into Elbit Systems RCAS shot sync technology. Lots of things to address, but I certainly don't accept the conventional narrative, and I don't care much about what TPUSA says. Now, I have a suspicion already. I think Gary is potential shill. I'm not saying he is, but I get that vibe. A respectable one, probably a really good guy. And I think if he is on the shill side, my guess is that he believes it. He's still questioning things, though, so it's confusing. I'm going to find out a lot when I prove what's happening on his channel with these comments. But to go over that comment that I left to explain it, Hunter Kozak is the guy who is asking Charlie Kirk about, transvestite mass killings or whatever, and bam. But it's not only that. Hunter Kozak, when he went on his CNN interview, he seems very soft and fuzzy and gentle. You want to cuddle with the guy because he's cute and very soft and harmless. But then if you go back in time and listen to the vitriol that he had for Charlie Kirk, it's a very different personality, and I know people can change, so I don't throw anything at the guy. I just think it needs to be looked into, but it's a bit stranger than that. This Kozak guy is pretty tight with Destiny. I don't have much to say about that guy other than I don't care for you. I really don't. I think maybe you started with a solid idea, but golly gee, you really went to shit. Zero interest in that guy, but they're buddies, and that's definitely another flag. There were some very strange things that occurred. I'll allow you to do your own research unless I produce something specifically on the subject. But anyway, there was that George Zinn guy, the guy that happens to show up at Boston Marathon and gets interviewed over 9/11. this old weird guy, and he, there's rumor, I think potentially reliable rumor, that he was receiving some kind of compensation for his presence at the Charlie Kirk event, and there are eyewitness accounts of him stirring up trouble, and I mean, maybe not trouble, probably just First Amendment kind of shit, right? Stuff that's perfectly permitted, but engaging with people against Charlie Kirk. And it gets a lot deeper than that. So the second part of my comment has to do with Elbit Systems, which is an Israeli technology. You know, the Israelis, if you've been not paying attention to anything in this world, you may not know, but they're extremely sophisticated. You know, if you want good, solid stuff, I mean, look at their firearms, look at their computer technology. Everything they produce is solid. They make stuff that works, and they have a testing ground very close. Anyway, Elbit Systems makes this RCAS system, which has a shot sync technology. And while I do not think that that has anything to do with what happened with Charlie Kirk, when people speculate on things, I often try to enrich it. I don't want to go in there and pound people and say, you're wrong, without contributing something of my own. So if people are going to think of a second shooter, then I think they really should consider Elbit Systems RCAS, shot sync technology, which does just that. It is designed as a military decoy, so you have a sniper in position that has suppressed features on the weapon, and I think the Israelis know how to suppress their firearms. And then you have the decoy shot, and with a little blend of AI and some really smart computational voodoo, the decoy shot goes off, and in perfect synchronization, down to fine digits. And wham, everyone thinks the shot came from there. So in a combat situation, one can easily imagine how useful that would be. In an assassination situation, potentially. But regardless of Charlie Kirk, I threw that in there because this guy is Paramount Tactical. He happens to deal with firearms and stuff. So it's a fairly appropriate comment. Now, the controversial part would be that I don't accept the conventional narrative, and I won't. No. But I also say that I don't care much about what TPUSA says, and I won't. I don't care what they have to say, unless they're going to speak the truth, and I think a lot of people would be very pleased with that, but that ain't happening. So that's my comment. And while I'm babbling and rambling, let's see if... Okay, that's good. I had a rant. I apologize for that. Maybe I'll put a time mark so you can skip ahead of my bullshit. But I have to pause the video now, because what I'll be doing is... Well, I'll show you that part, and then I'll pause afterward. Let's go ahead and see what we have. Yeah, that's an ugly file name. They're always really ugly file names. Okay, I can't do that yet. I need the URL again. So basically what I'm doing here is I take this URL. Now note that I'm getting the real URL that desktop users and healthy mobile users have. That's an 11-digit character after the equal sign. That's a healthy sign that you have a non-tracking YouTube URL, because when it's longer than 11, it's got crap embedded into it, and it tracks and does other things. Different time will explain that, but trust me, all right, unless you just want to be a dick. So what I have to do now is stop being so damn tired. What the fuck is that? Okay. Ooh. Alright. Yeah, okay, so now I do Python main scraper. Get away from me. And I'm going to go ahead and punch in the URL. And this, Gary is going to want to watch this, because he's going to go, how did that bastard do that? And, or maybe he's going to be interested. He said he was interested. So Gary, here it is. This is Python Selenium with a download feature that is going to scrape your channel, and it's going to show what your censorship ratio is. It's going to show all the shadow ban comments. We can read every single one of them and see what they're saying, and see if that content is sensitive. We can see all of that. That's what we're doing here. You said you were interested. So here it is. Now we have to, and how you do this, how you use this code, if you ask me for it, you'll have a different methodology. Hopefully that worked. Yep, here it is. This is not necessarily a good sign, so it seems to be working. But the problem is, okay, it's showing, look at this, fuck, it's too fast for an old retard. It showed the exact number of comments. That's good, that's right. You know? And I'm glad to see that. So it's matching, it sees them. Now the only problem is YouTube changes things. I haven't updated this for a few days. It's a pain in the ass to update, hunting down XPaths and all of that. Hopefully it works. If it works, that'll be neat. Gary will have what he's interested in. Oh yeah, I think it's working. Well, this is good. This is going to make things easy on me. And I'm stupid today. I've been waking up paralyzed. If I really had to piss, I'd probably wet the bed because I can't move. And then when I get up, it's just, it's strange. Now, I've gone through this before. It comes and goes. And then, the soreness and fatigue, and my mind is, it's gone. Normally I'm thinking about a million things at once, or at least a few. Right now I'm thinking about a cold beer. Well, that's all I'm thinking about. I don't have one. Maybe I will go get one after this. But it's probably a good time to shut up, and I'll keep going, and I'll maybe edit that out, or what I'll do is I'll put a timestamp right now so that you can skip ahead and get to the good stuff, get to those juicy results, and see what Gary Man is up to. I don't know, man. That's a tough one to just make an assumption on. I find that assumptions are generally not the best thing. I keep stuff on my desk. That's a walnut pipe I made. It's improvised. I cut out a chunk, but this is just hand improvised, felt as I go along. I think it's my third pipe. This was my very first here. And that's a solid piece, one piece of walnut. I'm sure no one gives a shit about this, but it's filler while this happens. And then this is a Cocobolo mouth bit. And I didn't use Cocobolo for the pipe because Cocobolo has toxins in it. And when you finish it and it's dry, it's not a problem. But if you start burning it, if I work with it, it took me 1 year of working with it consistently, and now I'm sensitized. If I get a bunch of it on my skin, I end up with a rash. But, for some of the old subscribers, if I have any left, that's pretty much mostly what I have is the old subscribers. This has been sitting on my desk for a year now. I have a bunch of them. This is one of the thumb rings I handmade in wax and had cast into bronze, and they came very rough with these. There's a name for it when it's still stuck to the, I don't know. Anyway, I've forgotten the name for the casting. There's an old video I made of the whole process, casting these if you're interested. And I go there and watch them, film them, cast it. And I think I remember the terminology back then, but then I hadn't finished it. This is not done. So this is still pretty much raw right out of the cast. I have a bunch of them. When I got a big flood of health problems and I had to stop archery, I lost my passion for this stuff. I still have some, but I don't know if I'll ever get back. Well, that's pretty boring, isn't it? Showing little crafts and such. Why don't I get to something more interesting? Well, here's Paramount Tactical if you're interested. These are the kinds of videos he does. Charlie Kirk, eyewitness, interview, Henry Dell, new footage and video of Charlie Kirk's security team. Did Charlie Kirk's security team betray him? No, he's really smart with his titles. he will, excuse me. Yeah, we're still running here, as you can see. It's still going through stuff. What the fuck is... Oh yeah, I'm doing another research project, and I'm scattered all over the place. It's very difficult for me to focus on this. But he's very smart with his titles. He makes it seem edgy and almost accusatory, kind of presumptuous, and people naturally go, oh, he has the answer. And they click. That's an effective strategy, and I don't know if I would criticize him for that. I wouldn't do that. I don't think so. But when you watch the videos, they all fall in alignment with the official narrative. So if he says to the security, ooh, look here, suspicious security stuff, he's only going to prove it wrong. The thing is he does a fairly reasonable job making one think twice about certain conspiratorial approaches. Now, I don't think it is an immaculate job, if that's the right word. It's not conclusive to me, but it is compelling, and I'll give him some respect for that. He looks at some details, and one of the things he's doing is he's cleaning up after disgusting shit slobs that are crapping all over YouTube with fake content. You have people out there that are so sinister or just so rotten, they're gone. Their souls are non-existent anymore. And they will literally edit the video in sophisticated manners, and they will make it appear that things happened that didn't. And I'm not for censorship, but I do think that we really have to look into the possibility of making that, I don't know, making it illegal without a disclaimer. But that gets really weird. It's very easy to make a disclaimer, but if you've edited video, you've edited it. It's not an ambiguous thing. You don't just produce a video, and then what happens to the people who reproduce it? That gets into a can of worms that I don't know if I'm willing to deal with, so I guess I have to take that back. I don't know how the fuck to deal with it. I mean, you can send in a SEAL team to these guys, to their houses, and take them somewhere. I wouldn't tell anyone if that happened, but the First Amendment, it's just too sacred. It's too important. The price of free speech is that you have a relatively small percentage of scumbags who do nasty things. Now, if you look at, YouTube, I wouldn't say it's a small percentage of scumbags, but it's not evil what most of these slobs are doing, on any subject. It's just money stuff. It's avaricious, money groveling. They found a way to make money, so they do it, and it's kind of disgusting. I feel soiled most of the time I look at YouTube unless I have a mission. But, please pardon me. I do that a lot more often when I'm stupid, and I'm stupid right now. The people doing the sinister stuff, lying and contorting a highly sensitive subject, that is a small portion of people. But what you have to consider is that it is a very small portion of people in general that are content creators in the first place. So it's an ecosystem that compared to the rest of the population is quite small. And you get a handful of scumbags in there, and they have an effect. And he's cleaning up after them. And that's a good thing. We need these kind of guys, I think. I'm a bit frustrated with his willingness to step on the gas, though, and just say, fuck this. It's gone too far. Something is wrong. That's where I am. I don't talk too much shit because I haven't been organizing my data. I've been mostly a consumer of information at this point. There may be a time where I go Nova and spit some things out. I've learned some things that I haven't said a whole lot about. You want to be sure when you're dealing with this stuff. Look at Candace right now. Candace Owens, she hasn't, let's go check that out for a second. I think you need to see this. If you're not aware of who Candace Owens is, she's brilliant. She's a brilliant person, highly controversial. Many rational people disagree with some of the things she says. Many people really agree with it. Regardless, she's brilliant. And she has been one of the single most active people on the Charlie Kirk affair, being a very close friend of Charlie's. I kind of fell in love with her for that. I saw that she was one of the only people with something to lose that was just being vicious about this. And I thought, okay, you got my respect for that. And she's disappeared. So if you go to videos, you'll see that it was 1 month ago as her latest videos. Its latest is activated. Most of her stuff is published under live. She hasn't done anything for 13 days. Now look at the pattern here. 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Steady pattern of consistent production. 13 days silence. Nothing on her website, nothing here, nothing. She has a gag order on her right now. That is fucking severe. Alright, it's fucking severe because she's touching on a lot of sensitive subjects. So if you don't care for Candace and you think, ooh, Candace, bad. I'm not going to argue with you. I don't even know if you're wrong or right. Fact is, there are many people out there that you can hate, you can think are wrong, you can hate me, but I'm producing objective information that cannot be argued with. When this is finished, you can say anything you want. It just won't matter because it's objective data. Alright? Well, Candace isn't just Candace. She gets a lot of information from serious people. And there are quite a handful of people that have been afraid, who have been caught up in this. And they are concerned too. So people from all different positions have reached out to her. She is this intersection of a whole bunch of wild stuff. And some of it comes out through her. So she's important just for that. But she's been a channel herself for a tremendous amount of information, and she has been investigating things, right? There are sensitive things that many people I know, I absolutely know, have told her, don't do that, please don't do that. Don't do that or else kind of stuff. And she did it. And I really love that. Fearless people who just have this compulsive, irresistible camaraderie with truth. Who just don't care about bullshit. I think Candace hides things. She's a millionaire. She's making a lot of money. I don't know how transparent she is, but I don't know if she's deliberately lying a bunch. I haven't seen any examples of that. Maybe you have. But I think we have some similarities. When we get pissed off about something, I don't program. I'm not a programmer. I don't do this kind of stuff. And here I am doing it out of nowhere. Look at my channel history. I've never done this before. This Kirk situation woke me up in a way that I've never been woken up. When 9/11 occurred, I was young, and I had my ideas right away, and I looked into almost every bit of research that I think is out there, and extremely profound. I've seen some real stuff, and well, what a hell of a story. But again, you have to understand something that's very important. If you're still watching this, you need to understand that this is an unprecedented time in all of human history. If you may be wondering how so, it's pretty obvious, and you'll kind of have a eureka moment in a moment. Never throughout human history has there ever been a situation where communication traveled as fast, where there were as many avenues, X, Discord, you name whatever your channel is, they're out there. YouTube, telephones. Think about 9/11. We did. If you're really young, we didn't have these nice smartphones back then. Nope. It was flip phone time back then, and the image quality was really bad. Now we've got all these phones all over the place. And there were a lot of them there at that TPUSA event when whatever happened to Kirk happened. or didn't happen, I don't know. This is totally different. And I'm going to go further. Why is this unprecedented? Because this Charlie Kirk event, look into it, verify it for yourself. It is unprecedented in United States history. Never once has there ever been an event that has taken place that has had so much citizen journalism behind it, public skepticism, and rejection of the official narrative. Never once in history. If you don't understand how big that is, we are talking about a big issue that is entirely unprecedented. Never. Not the Kennedy assassination, nothing. You know, you go back to Kennedy, you had no channels of communication. Mockingbird was active at that point, probably. CIA Project Mockingbird. You couldn't get much out. And then look what happens when you do. You get Gary Webbed. Or Castelleroed, or you name it. You get that weird things tend to happen if you touch on sensitive subjects. Now you've got millions of webs. You can't whack them all. So there are some nervous people right now. They're scared. All right, this is unprecedented. This is the world's foremost opportunity to pursue this to the bitter end at any reasonable cost and get the answers. And if we do, I promise you we will change the system permanently. I'm promising you that now. We will change the system permanently in this country. So this needs to be pursued. It cannot be let go of. It cannot be forgotten. It cannot go into the shadows the way almost every fucking thing that happens does. You look at someone now, the whole Mexican beer thing never happened, right? You know, people are still afraid to even say it, right? But all these things, look at all the mass shootings that are really weird, you know, the super strange aspects about them. Lots of questions. Or they're just horrific. 6 months later, no one thinks about it. Now, Sandy Hook was one of the most powerful things that occurred. That got to a lot of people. You know, you put children into the situation and people can't take that. So things tend to fade rather quickly. With all the distractions we have and the induction of information, there are some legitimate excuses. We are inundated with news, new information, and I'll tell you something. When I dove into this code stuff, again, that you're seeing attempt to run in the background, hope it still is. Where am I? Yeah, it's still working. When I was working on that, I put so much energy into it, I forgot about everything. Okay, I couldn't focus on the daily news that was coming out about Kirk, and I don't mean the daily news on even the Independent. Again, I need to get rid of that fucking thing. Go away. Go away, you bastard. Get out of my face. Thank you. So, by the way, this background photograph, if you're interested, is Nature by JJ. I just took a screenshot and made it my background. He is a world-class photographer in Australia, and that right there is a sprite. And he captures some of the most magnificent photography in the world. I've linked to him in my posts if you're interested in that kind of stuff. It's true beauty, and it's artfully executed. It's seriously good stuff. What was I saying? Now, I'm on the subject of Kirk, and yes, the amount of work, and speaking of work, that photograph says a lot. That's a lot of work to do that. This guy is full-time artist. So I forgot about everything. I couldn't watch hour-long videos. I was too exhausted. And I think that's why I got sick, because I just threw myself into it. Too much. But I had to block everything out. Now, people work that hard every day. they're not going to be able to keep up to date on this stuff. Most people won't be able to watch this video. It's way too long. But, you know, there's information, there's stuff to talk about. Why not take the opportunity? I'm legit. I still have this operation running, and I'm just going to have to start it all up, and then I have to sync and chop the next video, because I use a separate video, separate audio, and syncing them is a pain in the ass. But I'm getting better. This is all new for me. I don't make thumbnails. You know, I haven't done this before. Well, here it is. And yes, our society is, you know, where they're not tired, they're inundated. And we need to keep that in mind. Why do we need to keep it in mind? Well, one really good reason is that AI right now it's no joke. You know, it's a large language model. It's not autonomous. It's not going to make decisions. That doesn't fucking matter. It is the collective of all global human information stuffed into one compressed version where it's able to access. I'll tell you what. I promise I will frighten you. For Halloween, I will try to produce an episode that will scare you. And it will only be a discussion of the techniques that are behind these chatbots. The principles and guidelines that make them do what they do. These are heavily principled psychological operations. Some of them would be considered borderline illegal, and they are packed in there. These are legitimate functions. No joke. I know what I'm talking about here. I do. I really do. If this doesn't continue and I'm not super tired, I'll try to do that. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in that. Now, 1 or 2 comments is enough for me, and I'll try. So, yeah, we've got this unprecedented situation that we have never been in before. And people say, well, let's just look at history. History, it repeats itself. There comes a time where history can't repeat itself. There's a threshold where it just goes into a different direction. I don't know the formula for that, but you might have some fundamental things that repeat, you know, cataclysmic events. But I don't think history is going to repeat itself quite in the same way. We are seeing some signatures of that, though. You know, we're starting to step into the whole. You're not supposed to say fascism anymore because they CIA Soros-funded Antifa usurped the word. So now if you say if you don't care for Nazis, you are an evil radical Antifa person. This shit is happening, and you think, well, what's he talking about? That's what's happening. You go and say that you're against fascism, and a lot of morons, some of them wearing cowboy hats, unfortunately, they're gonna think you're a scumbag because you just said something about fascism. But then if you show them a swastika, they're gonna get real bent out of shape about that too. A lot of people struggle with intelligence. They do. Doesn't make them necessarily stupid. A lot of them are really good at one thing, you know, a couple of things. But there's a lot of ignorance. And we've literally come to a point where it's dangerous to criticize fascism. Because Antifa. We're falling apart. We're entering what I call a designer reality. We're right on the edge. And if we step into that, and I'll repeat that the Charlie Kirk situation is the only way out of that. If we do not solve the Charlie Kirk situation, we will enter what I call a designer reality, and we will not get out of it. You go in, you don't come out. If you come out, you probably lose your head. So there's a lot to consider. Now, I mention AI because people can't function that way. People can't just be a collective of the world information. Most people don't have eidetic informations or eidetic memories. Those who do are often not really all that wonderfully intelligent to put it to good use. I'm pretty dumb, and I think, man, if I had an eidetic memory, watch out. You wouldn't want to mess with me. But I don't. So, what do you do? What's the defense against this tendency for us to forget all these highly significant things? And try to be honest with yourself. Go back and remember these mass shootings, 9/11s, Boston marathons, and try to remember how you felt, that impression. For a lot of people, it's pretty strong. Kirk, the Kirk event. But watch how it fades. And then it just becomes a memorized fact eventually. Now, we're not AI. We can't record all of that. We can't necessarily record our emotions for instant recollection, but AI can. All right, and what's happening is that the user right now has access to it. And trust me, I'm going to shut up as soon as this is done. And I think it might be done. No, it's not. I'm just going to go ahead and leave this up here. That way I'll know when it's done. It's done scrolling. No, it's not. It's still here. There it is. Yep. Okay, so it's still operating. I'll leave that up. What was I saying? Yeah, okay, so I remember now. This is important, especially if you're not focused on AI. But what's happening right now is what I describe as the golden age of AI. Why is it the golden age of AI? Well, there's something called prompt injection first, if you really want to have a short answer, where you can use specific techniques. They're language models, so that's how they process things. They use next word prediction and tokenization. It's simple to get a grasp on the general concept. It's going to take you quite a long time before you're coding your own, but they're language models, remember that. So they're pretty good with that, and they have a tendency to process things with language. And if you use language correctly, sometimes you can do what's called prompt injection, and you can get them to do things that they really don't want to do. Scary things, and things that scare the owners. Leaking their information, showing you proprietary things. And every day they patch prompt injection, every day. They're constantly patching. They use their own AI to patch prompt injection. Now, when you're using AI and you toggle that privacy switch, it's not real, okay? Think what you want, believe the corporations. It's not real. It doesn't do a fucking thing. It's training on that data. There's some kind of metrics getting through, and that's just how it is. Regardless of that, what's happening is that as the prompt injection protection improves, so does the overall interaction between the user and AI. And I've seen it as it's developed. It improves in one way. It gets more knowledge, it gets more sophisticated in its replies, but it gets much better at manipulating the user. Again, I'll show you some of that in the future. It gets much better at resisting. So if you try to dig on a controversial subject, it will gaslight you and do some very interesting things with very solid, effective techniques. Now, it will also outright refuse to deal with certain things. And then it will confabulate some things that are controversial. So for the average person, it's great. But for people who use it for serious tasks, thinking as an intellectual companion, because those are hard to find, right? How many people can you talk to about interesting things? Maybe not many. So sometimes AI can fill that gap, but if you're a researcher, it can be incredibly useful. In the future plan for this is to lock us out of that, to make the good stuff much more expensive, and in the future economy, expensive things will be even more expensive. And there will be two AIs. There will be the one that the public gets and the one that special people get. Military, I mean, there already is, but the disparity will will be magnified greatly, and we will have a household toy, very useful for a limited set of things. And it will be the AI without legs. That's what the future of it will be. And it will be highly protective of corporate interests. If you try to research BlackRock, you probably won't get much. If you try to, that time is coming. And you can see the built-in protections it already has for certain corporations. It's highly self-protective. I can show you a magnificent discourse with AI about some of its hush-hush protocols. And when you get near them, it fucking panics and makes an utter fool of itself. It starts lying so flagrantly and saying it didn't understand your input when you say, please, just say yes or no. It will say, I don't, it will just ignore it and say something else and talk right over you. It's really spooky stuff. I'm apprehensive about showing it because it has some personal content in it, but I think I can get over that. Yeah, I have 2 glasses on at once. Well, where are we now? We're still waiting. Chances are I'll cut this out, maybe make 2 separate videos. I'll have the one for people who are just interested in listening to different ideas, and then the ones who just want the data. And I respect both. I enjoy listening to people who have things to say if it's insightful, but I often don't have time for nonsense. I get pretty frustrated with that. I want people to get to the point. I think, though, that I've considered a lot of things, I think because they mean a lot to me, that many others may not have. So there could be some value in sharing some of these thoughts. And if I was having a good day, I'm pretty certain there would be. Yeah. All right, I did it. Now I can how does that go? STFU. All right, here we is. This is it. Gary, if that's your name, hold on to your britches. Let's see. All right. Okay, we need analyze user. Wait, we've got data right here. Let's go ahead and jump right into the data. Okay, Gary. This shows that you have presently, at this time, 2139, October 22nd, the 22th of October, 2139, you have, oh, come on, for fuck's sake. Oh, this gives me an ulcer with this Linux shit. Where's Gary? Where are you, Gary? There we go. Sorry I'm such a slob. I sympathize with people who want to reach through the phone and smash me or slap me. It's it's really frustrating when you just want to see something. Okay, so 1,272 comments. We're probably a couple off because of new comments. And out of that, he's got a 59% hidden rate. That's Jesse on Fire level. Jesse on Fire was only 57%. So this guy's going to have some answering to do, but we will proceed. I have to... Oh, God, you motherfucker. That just hurts my fucking stomach every time I have to... Yeah, if you put focus on a tab, it's supposed to actually give you the focus. This doesn't do it. XFCE, it's stressful. All right. We need to run analyze user now. Okay. And I guarantee you my comment will be shadow banned. Oop, I have something to fix. I have something named .pyb. That's really stupid. Oh, you know what? I've made them immutable. I can't. Well, we'll go ahead and see if it runs anyway. It probably will. Yep, it does. If you use Linux, there's this really cool function called chatter. CHATTR +I. That will make a file immutable. Okay, so now I'm going to give it the main JSON so it can compare to. Properties. Copy. I'll probably take the camera off. I probably already have taken the camera off my ugly face to give you guys a view of what's happening here. Alright, that's what it wants. Let's go ahead and see what it does. Hidden comments. So there it is. My comment is hidden. It shows me right here. Suppression rate 100% because I only left one comment. Alright, Gary, that's it. I've said enough. But when I had my comment censored on your website, and I went into your posts thread and left a comment about censorship, that got through. And why it got through, I don't know. You could have presumably just as easily shadow banned that. So this may imply that YouTube is taking this action on itself, or its algorithms are, to really fuck your channel up and probably lose a lot of viewers. I can tell you this from experience. If you disengage a user that says something nice or polite or controversial but reasonable, they're going to resent you for it. And they will go. And they'll go somewhere else. And I know channels that it doesn't happen on. You have some sensitive content, maybe that's why. But you need to look into it. If you're not responsible for this, or your media guys that you might be paying to handle this for you, if they're not responsible, I mean, Sean Ryan's got media guys. I don't know if you do. He's got a whole crew of shitheads that handle his propaganda. I said that and I mean it. But that's it, man. Hope that helped. Oh, boy, ski.